Hello everybody, good evening. My name is Kate and I'm here from Type Wonderful. And what I do is I'm a stress relieving coach for people with type 1 diabetes. I also provide group coaching sessions and also training for professionals. I've had type 1 for 18.5 years. And I've done a whole range of different things in my life despite having this condition, but obviously given that it's incurable and we have to inject insulin and we have to monitor blood glucose on a 24 basis, essentially you know what I mean, it takes over a lot of our lives. So I was inspired to set up this organisation to help people just like you, people just like me, where I was around 5 years ago when I was really stressed out. So today what I'm going to do in my first Type Wonderful video, I'm going to talk a little bit about my day today. So day in the life of somebody with type 1 diabetes. So first of all, just like to welcome anybody who's watching right now and say hi, thank you very much for listening. Secondly, if you put any comments or questions, I'll respond. And if you'd like to see me featuring in another video, please let me know what sort of subjects to cover. That's great. Thank you so much. Okay, so first of all, my blood glucose targets are these. So I'll just move my head out of the way so you can see. Not everybody's blood glucose targets are the same. These are based on my current needs. So in terms of the mornings when I wake up, I want to be between 6.5 and 8 millimoles. So that's what we use here in the UK. And before meals, I want to be around 4.5 to 7.5. That's great. Anything below, I may take on extra carbohydrate before eating. Anything above 7.5, what I might do is take additional insulin to correct that. What I try and do as much as possible is to do a glucose check 2 hours later, and at this point I hope that my glucose reading will be under 10. The reason why I do this is because I've heard that evidence suggests that people 2 hours after eating, if their blood glucose is below 10, generally speaking, they seem to have better outcomes in terms of complications excuse me, and other issues related to type 1. And then the last point here, before bed, I try and be between 6 and 9 before bed. Obviously, if I've done exercise not that long before, if I've also eaten not that long before, there's a bit of thought going into what my figure might be. Because for obvious reasons, if I've recently eaten, what that means is there's insulin still in my system, and therefore I wouldn't want to be correcting a number that was perhaps higher than 9. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cough there. So moving on, just wanted to let you guys know what I did today and how I dealt with it. So I work full time. I also run this business. And so this morning, the first thing I did, of course, was to test my glucose. And what I found this morning was that my reading was 5.2. Considering last night when I went to bed a little bit late, my reading was 8. I expected that my reading would be quite good, and so 5.2 was brilliant. I was really happy with that. So if we check back to the targets, I was in range for the morning. That's brilliant. So then secondly, so following the blood glucose check of 5.2, what I did was I carb counted my breakfast, and I established that I had around 17 grams of carbohydrate that I was about to have. And I know that my carb to insulin ratio is 1 unit of insulin for every 10 grams of carbs. So because I had 17 grams of carbs, what I would normally do is use my insulin pump to take 1.7 units. What I did this morning though is because I was 5.2, which is not that, it's not low, but it's a bit lower than what I would usually have. What I did was I underdosed, so I took 1.5 units, not 1.7. And this appeared to be a really great strategy because I went about my business this morning. I carried on with my very busy job. I had a meeting, I got on with some emails. And 2 hours later when I did my check, like I mentioned, I tend to do the 2 hour later check after food. What I found was my glucose reading was 10.9. So what I would ordinarily want to see is that I would have that I would have a reading of under 10, but 10.9, it was only a little bit over. And then actually what I did was I checked the time, and it actually wasn't even 2 hours later. So what had happened then was I'd checked about 20 minutes too early. So obviously the 10.9 then didn't cause me any anxiety at all. There was no issue with that. I continued with my busy day, my busy job, my meetings, my emails, finishing my report. And it came to lunchtime. And so what I did at lunchtime was I knew I was going for a walk to have a contact lens check at the local shopping centre. So before I did that, I took a glucose reading, and this was 6.8. Absolutely ideal. So if I'm looking here at my targets, before meals, 4.5 to 7.5. So I had a 6.8 reading, which is absolutely great. So then I went for my walk, and I had my appointment, and I came back to the office really hungry about 1:30. I did another blood glucose check, and I was now 5. So similar to what I thought in the morning for my breakfast, I thought, okay, 5 is still good. Of course, it's still within target, but it's jumped quite a lot in the last hour from, well, not even an hour, 30 minutes, from 6.8 to 5. I'd only walked not that far, 10 minutes there and back to the place, and so I just didn't really want to have any kind of hypos. As we know, hypos are not very nice. They lead to sweating, feelings of anxiety, heat, actually can make you feel cold too, shaky, uncertain, confused. Other people think you're not really with it, you not be able to speak sometimes, and generally it's not really very nice, is it? You know, I'm talking here to type 1, so you know exactly what I mean. If I say to you, oh, nighttime hypos, you know I'm talking about that crazy state of the kitchen in the morning where all kinds of things are all over the countertop. And other people who don't have type 1 would just think, well, so why didn't you just clear it up? Because I just suddenly felt better and I just want to go back to bed because I've already lost 45 minutes of sleep and I felt rubbish. And do you even remember sometimes that you even got up? So yeah, okay, so back to my day. So I came back to work from work, I came back from the eye test, and I had checked the glucose again, and it was now 5. So I wanted to underdose again for my lunch. So I knew my carbs for my lunch were around 15 grams. So I reduced it down to about 9. So instead of my 1.5 units, I took 0.9 units of insulin. And this was really interesting because I thought, oh, is it enough? And oh, is it too much? Basically what I've had over the last couple of years is some quite serious glucose variability. So all I can say right now is that today was actually pretty ideal in terms of the theory and the numbers and what medics would expect from me in terms of how hard I work, the kinds of results that I would get. But I must say that this is not a very usual day for me. I usually get quite crazy numbers that come from nowhere. That's how it usually seems. And this has made me feel quite stressed in the past. As I mentioned before, this is the reason why I was interested to set up this business, to provide support to other people in a similar position to me, because ultimately there's thousands of professionals out there that can provide help, but ultimately somebody who doesn't actually understand type 1 because they've never had it and never experienced a hypo, never understood what it's like to have sore fingertips from pricking your finger, understand what it's like to be sometimes scrutinised by other people who don't really understand. When I provide support to people with type 1, I totally understand everything they're going through, and it's easier for us to work together to come up with a resolution, and it's easier for us to help reduce that person's stress. So I'm really looking forward to getting more clients and working really hard to help them move forward and to have the perfect life, or have a more perfect life. Does perfect exist? To have a much better life despite the condition that we have, because, you know, ultimately we can't really do anything about it. It's uncurable, and it doesn't look like, unfortunately, anytime soon that, you know, pancreas transplants will be around, the islet cells will be able to be transplanted into our current pancreases. I don't even know if that technology was accurate, excuse me, but yeah, so really what I'm saying is I just think for us as type 1s, we just have to do our best, and that means we have to work really hard, and it also means sometimes things do not go to plan whatsoever, and it also means quite often people will not understand us, but I understand you, and no doubt you understand me, and everything I'm saying is making a lot of sense to you as well. So I took my insulin dose of 9.9 units for the food that I ate, because I'd underdosed because my glucose number was quite good, maybe a bit too good. That's what I was worried about. I didn't really want to go into a hypo. So I had a nice afternoon, and about an hour later I started to think, oh, I'm not really quite sure I'm feeling completely myself. Let me just have a look. So I did another glucose check, and then what I found was it had reduced from the 5, given all the food, to 5.7, which only an hour later I kind of would have expected it to be a little higher. So if we look back at my target screen, yeah, I would have expected it to be maybe more like 7 or 8. 7 or 8 would have been nice. So basically what I did was I thought, well, hang on a second. Let's not panic. Let's give it a couple of minutes. So about 10-15 minutes later, I did another glucose check, and it was now 4.7. In a couple of minutes, it's gone down already by 1. And that to me was like, ooh, hang on a second. And I knew I had to leave soon, and I had an hour journey to my sports masseur, and I had planned to go to the gym, and various other bits and pieces that obviously we have to do in our day. So what I did was I ate a snack bar, and I ate it slowly, and then very interestingly, actually, interestingly for me, considering I've already done quite a few checks already today, I didn't test it again until after my massage. So I went to leave work, and I reduced the pump dose by 20%, and that's what I usually do with cardio exercise, and I do the same thing with when I go for sports massage, because it's such a kind of, I guess, intense process, intense treatment on my body, and I tend to find often hypos before, during or after, if I don't make that adjustment. So with the pump, I'm able to make the 20% adjustment an hour before, so that's my whole journey. When I arrived already, I've got 20% less dose in my system, and yeah, and then then what happens is so I've lost my train of thought. Then what happens, then I got to the sports masseur, and I had a really great massage. There was pain, but it felt developmental, and it was a great time for me to have some relaxing, most of the time, apart from when it was a bit painful, a bit of a relaxing time, having some me time, and having a service that's just for me, and a bit of a treat, really. So that was great. And then straight after the massage, I did another blood glucose check, and this time it was 7.3. So I was actually really happy, and at that point what I did was I put my dose in the pump back to normal. So I'd had minus 20% for the hour's journey and for the hour of the massage, and then I put the dose back to where it was before, after the massage. And then I came home, and when I came home I went to the supermarket to pick up some vegetables to do a bit of cooking for the week, and I did another glucose check, and what I found there was I was 6, and that was great. And then a couple of hours later I had dinner, and I was 5.7 before dinner. So today I've had 8, 5.2, 10.9, 6.8, 5, 5.7, 4.7, 7.3, and what did I say the other one was? 5.7. So it's all been nice and pretty much on target today, and like I said, it isn't always like that. And I didn't work especially hard today. I just did the usual theory, but luckily I was all right, and everything went well. I can't say that's how every day that goes for me. I'm not sure how things go for you. Do tell us, do let us know. Do you feel like an outlier? Do you meet all of the do you meet all of the theories that we're told? How do you go about managing your type 1? How do you fit your life around it? And yeah, let me know what you think, and thank you very much for listening. Bye.